Welcome. I'm Sebastian Mahfood, and you're listening to WCAT Radio, the on-air wing of En Route Books and Media, bringing you the dulcet sounds of Catholic wisdom.
Hello, everybody. Here is Dr. Michela Ferri, and welcome to this fourth episode of the radio program Discovering Sacred Christian Art. I am very glad that I have this opportunity to talk to you today about the history of the Basilica of St. Peter in Vatican, Rome. But first of all, since today we remember the figure of St. Francis of Assisi, let me share with you some information. Francis of Assisi was born as Francis of Bernardone in the family of John Peter of Bernardone in Assisi. He was born, we believe, in 1181 or 1182, and he died in Assisi in the day of the 3rd of October in 1226. But internationally speaking, for the Catholic Church, we remember him today on October the 4th, because today is the liturgical memorial and celebrated through the Catholic Church. In Italy is a fest, a national fest. It is also the solemnity for the Franciscan family all around the world. St. Francis was proclaimed, together with St. Catherine of Siena, the main patron of Saint of Italy on June in 1939, by Pope Pius XII, during the years of the fascism. So, maybe you don't know, but we have two patrons of the nation of Italy. One is St. Catherine of Siena, and the other is St. Francis of Assisi. I hope you had the opportunity to visit Assisi, or that you will be able to visit it. And one of the next episodes will be dedicated to Assisi and to its basilicas, and to Santa Maria degli Angeli, that is in the area of Assisi. St. Francis is also known as, in Italian I can say, the poverello di Assisi, the poor man of Assisi. His tomb is a pilgrimage destination for hundreds of thousands of devotees, pilgrims, and admirers every year. The city of Assisi, because of this man, this famous citizen, has risen to a symbol of peace, especially after hosting the 4 great meetings between the representatives of the major religions of the world. These meetings were promoted by Pope John Paul II in 1986 and in 2002, and then by Pope Benedict XVI in 2011, and by Pope Francis in 2016. St. Francis of Assisi is one of the most important, popular, and revered saints in the world. And in addition to his spiritual work, St. Francis, thanks to the opera, the text entitled Canticle of Creatures, he is recognized as one of the initiators of the Italian literary tradition. In fact, when in Italy we study the history of the Italian literature, usually we start with St. Francis' Canticle of the Creators. And let me share with you one last information about him. On October the 4th, the day of St. Francis of Assisi, the Italian Parliament, starting from the 2005, so 13 years ago, decided that it could be indicated as not only Catholic and so religious, but also civil solemnity and a day for peace, for fraternity, for dialogue among religions. And this day represents in Italy not only for the Catholic life, but also for the civil life, an opportunity to continue to propose the ideals and values of the poor and his strong life choices, the strong life choices that made his figure great. And I can say that the dialogue, that is the Franciscan virtue par excellence, thus becomes the first reference to the meaning of the feast of St. Francis. Well, let's dedicate our prayer today to St. Francis, a great figure, a saint that was able, together with many other saints, to change the history. Today, the fourth episode of the program, Discovering Sacred Christian Art, is dedicated to St. Peter Basilica. But for a reason of length, because I would like to share with you all the elements that constitute the history of this basilica, I decided to divide the episode into two episodes. This first episode is dedicated to the ancient St. Peter Basilica, and I will spend some words also referring to the new St. Peter Basilica, that is the basilica that we can see today, the basilica that was born after Michelangelo's project. And then, in the next episode, I will continue my discourse by speaking about the new St. Peter Basilica. And for today, I have a reference, a website reference for what concerns the images. Please follow me. If you are in front of your computer or in front of your smartphone, you can go on the website www.vatican.va, and there in the front page you see St. Peter's Basilica in the various section. So you click and you have the direct link to the history of the Basilica of St. Peter, but the page that I have in front of me now is written in Italian. What I would like to share with you is the photo gallery that you can see in the left side of this web page, www.vatican.va/various/basilicae/San Pietro. And here you can find the photo gallery. I hope that you can find this link at the web page. Well, the Papal Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican is called in Italian Basilica Papale di San Pietro in Vaticano, or simply St. Peter's Basilica, in Latin Basilica Sancti Petri. As we can see now, the church, the new basilica, I call it new basilica for this historical reason that now I will explain you. It is now, as I can see it in front of my eyes, an Italian Renaissance church, typical Italian Renaissance church in the Vatican City, the Papal enclave within the city of Rome. And as I can see it now, it was designed principally by the following figures. The first, Donato Bramante. He lived between 1444 and 1514 by the famous Michelangelo. Michelangelo lived between 1475 and 1564, and by two other great protagonists of this artistic season, Carlo Maderno. He was born in 1556 and he died in 1629. And the fourth figure, the famous Gian Lorenzo Bernini. Bernini was born in 1598 and he died in 1680. St. Peter is the most renowned work of Renaissance architecture and art, and the largest church in the world, while it is neither the mother church of the Catholic Church nor the cathedral of the Diocese of Rome, and then I will explain you why. St. Peter's is regarded as one of the holiest Catholic shrines. It has been described as holding a unique position in the Christian world and as the greatest of all churches of the Christendom. However, and let me explain you, it is not the cathedral church of the Roman diocese, because this title belongs to the other ancient basilica, that is the Basilica of St. John in Lateran. I think that if now search for St. John in Lateran, you can find images and a location on a Cilio hill in Rome. Moreover, the Basilica of St. John in Lateran, in Italian is San Giovanni Laterano, is also the first for dignity, the first basilica for dignity, being the mother and the head of all the churches of the world and of the human world in general. So I know that this is strange, but this is a scientific and historical fact. The Basilica of St. John in Lateran is also called the Cathedral of Rome, but the full name is Papal Archbasilica of the Most Holy Savior and Saint John the Baptist and Evangelist in the Lateran. The Basilica of St. John in Lateran is the cathedral of the Diocese of Rome, currently ruled by Pope Francis through the cardinal called Angelo de Donatis, cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church. The Basilica of St. John in Lateran is the first of the four major papal basilicas and the oldest and the most important basilica in the West. It is located on the Colle Cilio, the Cilio Hill. The Basilica of St. John in Lateran is there with the vast surrounding complex, for example, including the Pontifical Lateran Palace, where the Pope lived until the period of Avignon, and the Palace of the Canonici, the Pontifical Roman Major Seminary, and the Pontifical Lateran University. And the Basilica of St. John in Lateran enjoys the privileges of extraterritoriality recognized by the Italian state to the Holy See, which therefore has its full and exclusive jurisdiction. The official denomination of St. John in Lateran is what I told you before, and you may know that it's called in Laterano because of area, because Lateranus in ancient Roman word was a cognomen, a surname of the gens Claudia. And in the area where now the Basilica of St. John the Lateran was built, there were some possessions, as I recalled in the episode Fridi Horti of that family. But let's go back to St. Peter's Basilica now. And now you have clear your idea that we have not only one, but two important basilicas in Rome, St. John in Lateran, and St. Peter. But since now St. Peter is the new St. Peter, so is St. John in Lateran is the ancient one. Let's talk about St. Peter's Basilica, the ancient. Well, as a pontifical chapel now, located adjacent to the Apostolic Palace, Basilica of St. Peter is the set of the main manifestations of Catholic worship. And you know that under the pontificate of Pius IX, the Basilica of St. Peter hosted the sessions of the First Vatican Council, and under our two St. John the 23rd from Bergamo, and Pope Paul VI, that will be canonized in the next week. The Basilica of St. Peter, with them, hosted the works for the Second Vatican Council. Well, what about the first Basilica, the ancient Basilica, that I mentioned in my previous radio talk in the previous episode? It was built under orders of the Emperor Constantine I. And I can see, let's try to imagine. And so let's go to the figure that we have some representations of the ancient Basilica. Before the Basilica, that is what we see. We see every single time we go to Rome. Beautiful, shiny, with marble, with a sense of embrace that starts from St. Peter Place, and the two arms that metaphorically embrace Christianity. And you can feel embraced by this architecture of the place. First, there was another basilica, totally different. A basilica which, as I indicated in the previous episode, was commissioned by the Emperor Constantine and was built by him. The ancient Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican is also known, this ancient, as the Basilica of Constantine, and it was located exactly in the area currently occupied by the new Vatican Basilica. Well, we can say that the policy of favor and together of control of the triumphant Christian religion that was inaugurated by the Emperor Constantine I with the Edict of Milan of 313 and culminating with its appearance, with the appearance of the Emperor as Basileus is Apostolos, the king at the same line of the apostles, and the first council of Nicaea in 325 was reflected in the serious buildings built in the holy places of Palestine and of Rome, which gave a new life to the new typology of the Christian basilica. And, as I recalled some minutes ago, the oldest Christian basilica in the world was that of St. John in Lateran. But it is the destiny that a prominent place belonged to the Basilica of St. Peter, which was built on the burial of the Apostle Peter, marked by, as we recall in the past episode, a memory. A memory is a small edicula placed in a large square in the Vatican necropolis that indicated the tomb of Peter and that remained in use from the 2nd century to the 4th century, and located at the edge of the Circus of Nero, the Circus of the Emperor Nero, at the foot of the Vatican Hill. I suggest to you, my dear listeners, for who maybe didn't have the occasion to listen to the episode number 3, can listen to it, because the episode number 3 can clarify for you what I'm explaining now in the episode number 4. Well, the the exact chronology of the construction of the basilica is not known, although the so-called Liber Pontificalis, the book of the Pontifex, reports that it was erected by Constantine during the pontificate of Pope Sylvester I. And Pope Sylvester I lived at the same time of Constantine. Pope Sylvester I died in 335, and Constantine died in 337. But it is probable that some works have continued after the death of the two men, Pope Sylvester and Emperor Constantine. The works presumably began between 319 and 326 and ended substantially in 333, but for many historians they went on. To build this impressive basilica that was, as the sources told us, 119 meters per 63 meters and 37 meters in the height, great basilica. The Emperor Constantine, also strong in his position at that time as Pontifex Maximus, that was the title of each Roman emperor for what concerns the religious matters, and he was surely assisted and supported by Pope Sylvester. He wanted to create a sort of celebration of St. Peter. And as I recalled, the burial chambers were buried with the filling material, and the whole area was leveled, creating a so-called esplanade, as a place, a plaza, as I explained in the third episode. But the building needed to be founded on the Vatican necropoli, with a presumable technical difficulties, seeing the contribution of land brought back from the hill on the north and on the west sides of the basilica to fill the ancient necropoli. The act of smoothing asymmetry areas still in use was an unusual act, also from a religious and legal point of view, and carried out at great expense. However, it is justified, this action, by the great importance attributed to the burial of the Apostle Peter. The construction of the large quadriporticus in front of the basilica, documented starting from the year 397, was probably foreseen at the same time as the basilica's construction site and realized shortly afterwards, also located on the base of the basilica, connected to the original floor level with a large staircase. Well, to make an example, when the king of the barbars, Ostrogoths, Totila, conquered Rome on December of 546, many Roman senators and patricians took refuge here in the ancient Basilica of St. Peter. Then, in the day of Christmas of 800, the ancient basilica, as we know, welcomed the solemn coronation of the Emperor Charlemagne. After him, there were many emperors of the only empire to be crowned in the ancient basilica. Among the others, Charles Bald, Otto I, Otto II, Otto III, Frederick Barbarossa, and Frederick II. And then we can say, we can recall another episode in 846. The ancient basilica was sacked by the Saracens, Muslims, who robbed it of numerous works of art and furnishing, including the 7th century bronze doors. For the avoidance of future similar episodes, Pope Leo IV had it surrounded by fortifications, which are still existing, and we can see them under the name of Leonine walls of the 9th century. The papacy, which originally had residence in the Lateran Basilica, moved to the Vatican Basilica only after the so-called Avignon captivity, starting from 1377, 1377. Thus, after this date, 1377, after the Avignon captivity, popes lived in the Vatican after. And we can say that over the centuries, the ancient Basilica of Constantine was flanked by other buildings, such the atrium, the bell tower, a palace intended for the residency of the clergy. But as we recalled some minutes ago, the Vatican complex was not a papal residence until 1377, because in 1377 the Avignonese captivity ended, and starting from that year, the Basilica was not the Episcopal Church of the Pontiff. And so, after a period of neglect due to the so-called Avignonian captivity, and at the end of the 14th century, the ancient Basilica, together with the Vatican complex, became the papal residence. And starting from that right moment, it became the center of a papal interest and was enriched with many works of art. During the pontificate of Pope between the 14th century and the 15th century, and his successor, Pope Eugene IV, and Pope Eugene IV lived in the 15th century. It happened that they began, these two popes, to think about a consolidation. In the 15th century, Pope Nicholas V decided a profound renewal of the building complex, and in particular of the ancient building that complained of a state of decay, especially to the roofing structures and the side wall placed to the north that had titled. We can say that at the beginning of the 16th century, it was decided for its total reconstruction, and then it was slowly demolished, starting from the presbytery to make room for the new great basilica. We can say that in the next and fifth episode of the radio show Discovering Sacred Christian Art, that I will deliver in the next Thursday on October the 11th, in the day, remember, the day in which we celebrate St. John the 23rd, I will continue to talk about the new St. Peter's Basilica. But let me now give you some information on some historical notes. Basilica. And we can have a list of the major architects that contribute to create the basilica that we see now. From 1506, Bramante. From 1514, Raphael, the great Raphael. From 1520, Antonio da Sangallo the Young. From 1546, the great Michelangelo. And then from 1603, Carlo Maderno, and from 1629, Gian Lorenzo Bernini. Well, A study on the reuse of the ancient columns inside the basilica, recovered during the direction of Michelangelo, has shown that in all probability some of the grey granite columns in the transept and in the apse of the bottom come from the Temple of Venus in Rome. And this is a particular element I would like to share with you before to speak about the new great basilica. In the year 2026, we will celebrate the 400th anniversary of the consecration of the new St. Peter's Basilica. But let me remember you that we will also celebrate the 800th anniversary of the death of St. Francis. So, St. Francis died in 1226, and the new Basilica of St. Peter was consecrated in 1626. Well, in the next episode, I will continue from this point to talk about the new Basilica of St. Peter, the projects, the interior, the doors, in connection the project of the last door with St. John the 23rd, and in connection with the Passion for Art of our blessed Pope Paul VI, with the Second Vatican Council. I strongly hope, my dear listeners, that these 4 radio talks dedicated to the discovery of sacred art are for you of interest and help to understand the history and the themes of Christian art. I wish you a blessed day, remembering the figure of St. Francis of Assisi. May God bless you, and let's talk about sacred Christian art on Thursday, the 11th of October, day of St. John the 23rd. A prayer to St. Francis. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.